Welcome to InfoStream, your daily current. Unsure what to listen to? Turn to us for today's headlines. Stay informed. NATO responds to increased Russian airspace violations. Tensions remain high with ongoing military actions. High Seas Treaty now in effect, boosting ocean conservation efforts. The agreement represents a significant step forward. Portugal plans to recognize Palestine despite conflict. The decision reflects a complex geopolitical situation. Malawi election marred by fraud and delayed results. Uncertainty persists regarding the outcome. Russia launches major assault on Ukraine, prompting NATO response. De-escalation further destabilizes the region. China spying charges lead to vulnerability in parliament. Security concerns highlight potential threats. Significant crystal meth bust in South Africa. Law enforcement efforts disrupt trafficking operations. Trump implements H-1B visa fee and gold card program. The move raises questions about immigration policy. Trump removes U.S. attorney amid political pressure. The removal underscores potential political interference. Trump and Tsai reach agreement on TikTok. The deal suggests a possible reduction in tensions. Trump orders third lethal strike against drug vessels. The action continues a strategy against illicit trafficking. Trump seeks Supreme Court intervention in Venezuelan TPS case. The legal challenge could have broad implications. Cyberattack disrupts European airports, including Heathrow and Brussels. The incident highlights vulnerabilities in aviation security. British couple freed by Taliban return home after 8 months. Their release marks a difficult and lengthy ordeal. U.S. visa restrictions shatter Palestinian students' dreams. The limitations represent a setback for aspiring students. Escalating tensions, NATO response to Russian airspace violations and political developments. Recent events highlight escalating tensions between Russia and NATO, primarily centered around airspace violations and political developments within the UK and internationally. Russian military aircraft, specifically MiG-31 fighter jets, have repeatedly entered the airspace of NATO member Estonia, most recently on Friday, prompting immediate responses from the alliance. These incursions, described as reckless and brazen, have occurred multiple times in 2025, escalating concerns about Russian aggression. NATO swiftly intercepted the aircraft, underscoring its commitment to defending its members. Politically, within the UK, significant debate surrounds proposed policy changes. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has strongly criticized the two-child benefit cap, labeling it spiteful and detrimental to children. There are indications that the Labour Party is considering abandoning the cap. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has vociferously opposed Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer's plans to recognize a Palestinian state, accusing him of rewarding terrorism and advocating for a reckless surrender of the Chagos Islands. Across the Atlantic, concerns are mounting regarding potential Chinese espionage, following a decision to drop charges against individuals accused of spying for Beijing. The Speaker of the Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, has raised serious concerns about this decision, urging the Home Secretary to address the potential for foreign actors to compromise Parliament. The ongoing migration crisis continues to dominate headlines, with reports detailing the arrival of up to 1,000 asylum seekers via small boats, and the limited success of the on-in, one-out scheme, which has only resulted in the return of 3 migrants to France. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is pushing ahead with the introduction of digital IDs, aiming to curb illegal migration, potentially unveiling the scheme at the Labour Party conference. Furthermore, investigations into the disappearance of Madeleine McCann have intensified, with detectives secretly traveling to Portugal to question individuals connected to Christian Bruckner, the prime suspect. The Daily Mail reports 2 additional Russian jets breached the safety zone of a Polish oil rig in the Baltic Sea, showcasing a potential show of force. These events collectively demonstrate a complex and concerning geopolitical landscape, characterized by military provocations, political disagreements, and ongoing challenges related to migration and security. High Seas Treaty enters force, marking a turning point for ocean conservation. A landmark international agreement, the High Seas Treaty, has officially crossed a critical threshold, paving the way for the establishment of marine protected areas across more than 2/3 of the world's oceans. The treaty, a result of 2 decades of negotiations, will become legally binding from January, representing a monumental achievement in global environmental protection. It addresses the urgent need to conserve and sustainably utilize marine biodiversity within international waters, an area previously severely lacking in regulation. The treaty's passage follows decades of escalating damage to marine ecosystems due to overfishing, pollution from shipping, and the impacts of climate change. Recent assessments reveal that nearly 10% of marine species are at risk of extinction, highlighting the critical need for immediate action. Prior agreements stipulated a goal of protecting 30% of national and international waters, the high seas, by 2030, a target now bolstered by this new legal framework. Despite the significance of the treaty, protecting the high seas presents considerable challenges due to the lack of centralized control and the inherent rights of nations to engage in shipping and fishing activities. Currently, only 1% of these waters are protected, underscoring the urgency of the situation. The High Seas Treaty specifically aims to address this gap. The process for implementing the treaty involves nations proposing areas for protection, which will then be subject to voting by signatory countries, while acknowledging the potential for diverse environmental impact assessments and final decisions. The treaty signifies a crucial step towards collaborative ocean conservation. Key figures, including UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, Kirsten Schuit of the Worldwide Fund for Nature, and Mads Christensen of Greenpeace International, have lauded the achievement as a monumental achievement and landmark moment, respectively. The ocean's vital role contributing $2.5 trillion to global economies and providing up to 80% of the world's oxygen further emphasizes the importance of this international effort. The treaty's entry into force marks a turning point, demanding a shift away from exploitation and towards a sustainable future for our planet's oceans. Portugal's planned recognition of Palestinian statehood amidst ongoing conflict. Portugal announced its intention to recognize a Palestinian state, a significant development occurring as the conflict in Gaza continues without resolution. The decision, revealed by the Portuguese Foreign Ministry, precedes next week's United Nations General Assembly's UNGA session in New York, signaling a broader trend among Western nations. France, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia are also reportedly preparing similar announcements, indicating a potential shift in policy driven by the evolving situation in Gaza. The move is directly linked to the ongoing war and the humanitarian crisis unfolding in the region. Israel has strongly condemned Portugal's planned recognition, accusing it of rewarding terror. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserted that the recognition would be a consequence of Hamas's devastating attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. This attack remains a pivotal event, fundamentally shaping the international response to the conflict. The announcement highlights a growing international pressure for a two-state solution and underscores the increasing calls for a ceasefire in Gaza. Portugal's action is part of a larger diplomatic effort aimed at finding a path towards a lasting resolution. The anticipated announcements from other Western nations suggest a concerted effort to influence the international discourse surrounding the conflict. The situation remains incredibly complex, with deeply entrenched positions on all sides. The UNGA is expected to be a focal point for further debate and potential resolutions, further amplifying the impact of these upcoming recognitions. The future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict hinges on navigating these shifting geopolitical alliances and the continued pursuit of a peaceful settlement. Malawi election allegations of fraud and delayed results. Following Tuesday's general elections in Malawi, 8 individuals have been arrested on suspicion of electoral fraud, specifically related to manipulating data entry figures. Inspector General Merline Yolamu confirmed the arrests of those working as data entry clerks, highlighting the Electoral Commission's heightened vigilance following the 2019 annulment of Peter Mutharika's victory due to widespread irregularities. Initial tallies indicate Mutharika currently leads the presidential race, with Lazarus Chakwera in second place. However, the results are pending the release of final counts from the country's 36 districts, scheduled for the weekend. A candidate must secure more than 50% of the vote or trigger a runoff election. Concerns surrounding the integrity of the election have intensified, with complaints filed by both the Malawi Congress Party and the United Democratic Front. The Malawi Congress Party alleges irregularities in the count, while the United Democratic Front, led by Atupale Muluzi, claims serious irregularities in multiple tallying centers, though they haven't presented concrete evidence. These complaints are being investigated by the Electoral Commission, which is mandated to announce the final outcome only after all votes are tallied and verified, with a deadline of Wednesday. The 2019 election was marred by accusations of tampering, including the use of Tipex correction fluid on results sheets, which fueled distrust in the electoral process. The current election campaign was dominated by Malawi's severe economic crisis, characterized by a near 30% inflation rate and a foreign currency shortage. This economic hardship has significant implications for the country's population, where the majority live on less than $2 a day. Lazarus Chakwera, who won the rerun election, and Peter Mutharika, an 85-year-old seeking a dramatic return to power, are the key contenders. The Electoral Commission's cautious approach emphasizes a commitment to a transparent and verifiable outcome, crucial given the history of disputed results in Malawi. The investigation and verification process are paramount to ensuring public confidence in the democratic process. Escalating tensions. Russia launches extensive assault on Ukraine. Triggering NATO response. Russia launched a massive, multi-faceted aerial assault on Ukraine Saturday, deploying 579 attack drones, 8 ballistic missiles, and 32 cruise missiles targeting areas near its western border with Poland. This aggressive action prompted the immediate scrambling of Polish and Allied military aircraft, alongside heightened alert levels across Europe. The Polish military activated duty fighter pairs and deployed air defense systems and radiolocation reconnaissance to maximum readiness. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported 3 fatalities and dozens injured due to the attacks, characterizing them as a deliberate strategy to terrorize civilians and destroy infrastructure, demanding a strong international response. Simultaneously, NATO intercepted 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets violating Estonia's airspace, an incident Estonia deemed unprecedentedly brazen. The jets, which had their transponders switched off, remained for 12 minutes over the Gulf of Finland. Italian F-35 fighters, part of NATO's Eastern Sentry operation, responded alongside Swedish and Finnish aircraft. Russia denied the incursion, asserting it complied with international rules. Estonia subsequently requested NATO Article 4 consultations, a formal mechanism for addressing security concerns. Earlier this month, NATO fighter jets shot down multiple Russian drones violating Polish airspace during an attack on Ukraine, marking the first time NATO forces had engaged in combat since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. The situation has intensified the focus on bolstering defenses along NATO's eastern flank, particularly in Poland and Romania, where Russian drones previously violated airspace. Amidst the escalating tensions, efforts to secure long-term security guarantees for Ukraine are ongoing. President Zelensky is scheduled to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump at the UN General Assembly next week, aiming to assess the progress of these guarantees. Despite previous attempts, a joint summit involving Zelensky, Putin, and other leaders remains unrealized. The latest events underscore the continued volatility of the conflict and the heightened risks to regional stability. Parliament vulnerable to espionage following China spying charges. Withdrawal. The recent decisions by the Crown Prosecution Service to drop espionage charges against Christopher Berry and Christopher Cash, accused of spying for China, have raised serious concerns within Parliament regarding potential vulnerabilities to foreign interference. Speaker of the Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, expressed deep dissatisfaction with the withdrawal of charges, stating it leaves the door open to foreign actors attempting to infiltrate the House of Commons. The charges brought under the Official Secrets Act related to the gathering and provision of information detrimental to the UK's safety and interests between December 2021 and February 2023. The Home Office criticized the CPS's decision as disappointing, while the Prime Minister's office condemned any attempt by foreign powers to compromise the UK's democracy. Sir Lindsay Hoyle emphasized the gravity of the situation, highlighting the 2-year delay in the case's resolution as unacceptable. He communicated his concerns to Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, advocating for measures to secure the House. The CPS justified the decision by stating that the evidential threshold was not met, despite considering alternative offenses. Stephen Parkinson, the Director of Public Prosecutions, assured that no external pressure influenced the outcome. Christopher Berry and Christopher Cash, originally scheduled to stand trial, expressed relief at the cessation of legal proceedings. The situation underscores ongoing anxieties about potential security threats targeting parliamentary processes and reinforces the need for stringent safeguards within the House of Commons. The withdrawal of charges has prompted a renewed examination of security protocols and a heightened awareness of the risks posed by foreign intelligence operations. South Africa's drug trafficking operations yield significant crystal meth bust. South African law enforcement agencies have successfully dismantled a sophisticated crystal methamphetamine laboratory, resulting in the seizure of an estimated $20 million worth of the illicit drug. The operation, executed in the eastern region of the country, involved the discovery of the clandestine facility located on a farm. 5 individuals, identified as originating from a North American nation, were apprehended at the scene. Furthermore, 2 other suspects, believed to be from West African countries, remain at large and are actively being pursued. Photographic evidence obtained by police depicts the extensive industrial equipment utilized in the drug manufacturing process, including specialized weighing scales and numerous lunch boxes containing substantial quantities of crystal methamphetamine. The operation highlights the ongoing challenges South Africa faces in combating the global drug trade. The discovery comes amidst growing concerns regarding South Africa's position as a major consumer market for crystal meth, as evidenced by the 2022 Global State of Harm Reduction Report. This report identified South Africa as one of the largest markets worldwide for this dangerous substance. A critical contributing factor to this situation is the country's geography and its porous borders, which render it a strategically advantageous transit point for the international movement of illicit drugs. The investigation underscores the complex nature of drug trafficking networks and the coordinated efforts required to disrupt them. Authorities are continuing to investigate the operation and are focused on locating the remaining suspects, aiming to dismantle the entire trafficking network. The seizure represents a significant victory in the ongoing battle against drug crime within South Africa and highlights the vulnerabilities exploited by transnational criminal organizations. Trump imposes 100,000 fee on H-1B visas, launches Gold Card program, and President Donald Trump has implemented a significant shift in immigration policy with the introduction of a 100,000 annual fee for H-1B visa applicants, alongside the creation of a Gold Card immigration pathway. This action aims to incentivize domestic hiring while still allowing access to highly skilled foreign workers, particularly in technology sectors. The initiative marks a continuation of Trump's efforts to restrict legal immigration and reshape the nation's approach to foreign workers. The H-1B visa, frequently utilized by tech companies, allows for 3-year stays and can be renewed. The new fee, alongside vetting costs, stems from discussions with companies and is currently under review for a potential upfront payment structure. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick stated the administration's intention to prioritize extraordinary people at the very top, reflecting a desire to attract top-tier talent. A Gold Card program has also been established, offering expedited visas to individuals paying a $1 million fee or companies paying $2 million to sponsor them. This program is designed to overhaul the existing green card process, which Lutnick argues has resulted in the nation accepting the bottom quartile of workers from abroad. Approximately 65,000 H-1B visas are granted annually, with an additional 20,000 reserved for advanced degree holders. Demand frequently exceeds supply, leading to a lottery system. Despite previous restrictions and criticisms regarding the programs used by companies, Trump has at times expressed support for the H-1B visa during his campaign and in subsequent remarks. The move has sparked concern among industry stakeholders, particularly within the tech sector, and trade bodies like NASSCOM, who have voiced anxieties about the one-day deadline created for implementation. Companies like Amazon have issued internal advisories to employees with H-1B visas to return to the U.S. before the new regulations take effect, reflecting the uncertainty surrounding the changes. The Gold Card program's launch signifies a broader strategy to shift the immigrant landscape, focusing on entrepreneurs and high earners, aligning with Trump's broader vision for immigration reform. The administration's actions represent a notable alteration in the nation's approach to foreign worker visas, aiming to reshape the immigrant landscape and prioritize a specific segment of skilled talent. Trump resigns U.S. Attorney amid political pressure. U.S. Attorney Eric Siebert resigned from his position as interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia following intense pressure from President Donald Trump, primarily centered around investigations targeting New York Attorney General Letitia James. The resignation, confirmed by Siebert's email to staff and subsequent reporting by CNN and the BBC, stemmed from Trump's expressed desire for Siebert to be out. Trump's opposition was fueled by James's successful civil fraud lawsuit against Trump and his company, along with his perceived animosity towards her. Multiple sources within the Justice Department indicated that prosecutors in Virginia believed insufficient evidence existed to indict James, leading to a lack of support from within the department. Trump's objections were further solidified by the fact that Virginia's Democratic senators, Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, had initially supported Siebert's nomination, a move Trump viewed as a betrayal. CNN reported that Trump intended to fire Siebert and subsequently withdrew his nomination, stating he wanted a Democrat appointed instead of a Republican. Warner and Kaine swiftly responded, criticizing Trump's actions as politically motivated and undermining the independence of the Eastern District of Virginia, which handles significant national security cases. They highlighted Siebert's ethical conduct and the bipartisan support he had received during the nomination process. Siebert, who had been serving as interim U.S. Attorney since January and previously worked as an assistant U.S. Attorney since 2010, oversaw a staff of approximately 300 people across 4 divisions. He previously held roles as lead task force attorney for the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force and deputy criminal supervisor for the Richmond Division. He graduated from Virginia Military Institute and the University of Richmond Law School. The resignation underscores the increasing politicization of the Justice Department under the Trump administration and the challenges faced by prosecutors operating within a highly charged political environment. The Eastern District of Virginia remains a vital component of the federal legal system, handling crucial cases with significant national implications. Trump and Xi agreed to TikTok deal, signaling potential de-escalation. Following a phone call, U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping have reportedly reached an agreement regarding the future of TikTok's U.S. operations, a development that could potentially ease trade tensions. While the precise details remain somewhat unclear, the agreement involves a group of U.S. investors acquiring the app, utilizing ByteDance's algorithm technology under licensing. This represents a shift from Trump's initial push for a ban, now viewed as a key component of his 2024 campaign. The deal's completion is contingent on a formal signing process. The agreement aims to address concerns surrounding TikTok's potential ties to the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, a persistent worry voiced by numerous U.S. lawmakers, including Representative John Moolenaar, who expressed concerns about continued CCP influence through the algorithm. Despite these anxieties, Trump views TikTok as a valuable asset for the U.S., highlighting the investors as among the greatest investors in the world. Xinhua, China's official news agency, stated that Beijing welcomes negotiations and expects solutions compliant with Chinese laws. It emphasized the need for a fair and non-discriminatory business environment for Chinese companies investing in the U.S. ByteDance acknowledged their commitment to ensuring TikTok's continued availability to American users. This call marks the second conversation between the two leaders this year, following a June discussion regarding China's export of rare earth minerals, leading to the approval of export permits. Throughout recent months, officials from both countries have engaged in 4 rounds of talks, avoiding the imposition of high tariffs and strict export controls. Other significant issues, such as tech export restrictions and agricultural purchases, remain unresolved. The U.S. Supreme Court's upholding of a ban on TikTok, unless ByteDance divested from its U.S. operations in January, which briefly led to the app's temporary shutdown, further underscores the complexities surrounding the situation. Despite these ongoing challenges, the agreement signals a potential step towards de-escalation in the trade war. Trump orders third lethal strike against alleged drug vessels. President Donald Trump has ordered a third lethal military strike against alleged drug trafficking vessels in international waters, resulting in the deaths of 3 individuals identified as male narco-terrorists. These strikes, announced across multiple platforms including Truth Social, represent an escalation in the Trump administration's ongoing efforts to combat narcotics trafficking. The operation, carried out by the U.S. Southern Command, targeted a vessel linked to a designated terrorist organization involved in narco-trafficking. Previous strikes, resulting in the deaths of 14 individuals, had been conducted in recent weeks, primarily targeting vessels allegedly originating from Venezuela and linked to the Tren de Aragua gang. Details surrounding the specific locations and methods of these attacks have remained largely undisclosed. The administration has consistently emphasized the threat posed by drug cartels to American citizens and the necessity of taking decisive action. The most recent strike involved a vessel identified as carrying illicit narcotics, including cocaine and fentanyl, with significant quantities observed scattered across the ocean following the attack. The administration has presented this as evidence of the immediate danger posed by these operations. While no U.S. forces were harmed during the operation, questions have been raised regarding the legality and justification of the strikes, particularly concerning the absence of conclusive evidence linking the targets directly to terrorist activities or a specific route to the United States. Senators, including Jack Reed, have expressed concern that the strikes were not conducted in self-defense and lack legal justification under domestic and international law. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has maintained the administration's authority to take such action, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio has vowed to continue the combat against drug cartels flooding American streets. The administration's actions have sparked debate regarding the appropriate use of military force and the legal framework governing such operations, particularly in the context of civilian vessels. Further operations are anticipated, according to statements from administration officials. Trump seeks Supreme Court intervention in Venezuelan TPS case. The Trump administration has petitioned the Supreme Court to overturn a lower court's decision protecting temporary protected status, TPS, for approximately 300,000 Venezuelan migrants residing in the United States, labeling the ruling an indefensible affront. The dispute centers on Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem's move to terminate the TPS program for Venezuelan migrants. This action has ignited a broader debate concerning the Supreme Court's handling of emergency appeals, particularly within the context of Trump's second term and the perceived lack of guidance from the court's emergency docket. The Supreme Court initially permitted the administration to proceed with the TPS withdrawal in May, despite Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent. Subsequently, a federal judge in California issued an order siding with the Venezuelan migrants, leading to the current appeal. The Trump administration's emergency motion argues that regardless of the brevity of the Supreme Court's initial order, disregarding it as done by lower courts is unacceptable. The core issue revolves around NOM's authority to abruptly terminate the existing TPS designation before its scheduled expiration. The Biden administration initially established TPS for Venezuelans in March 2021, citing instability within the country, and subsequently expanded it in 2023, renewing protections for 18 months prior to Trump's inauguration. Venezuelan migrants covered under TPS contend that NOM's reversal violated the Administrative Procedure Act, demanding specific procedures for federal agency policy changes. They also allege that NOM's decision was driven by racial and political bias. Several lower court judges have expressed uncertainty regarding how to approach cases when the Supreme Court provides minimal explanation on its expedited docket. Judge James Wynn highlighted this lack of clarity during a recent oral argument. The administration's strategy appears to be leveraging the Supreme Court's precedent to compel lower courts to adhere to its interpretation of the case, despite the lack of specific reasoning provided by the court. The case continues to highlight the challenges posed by the Supreme Court's emergency docket and its potential impact on ongoing legal disputes. A cyberattack disrupts European airports including Heathrow, Brussels. A widespread cyberattack, originating from a service provider responsible for check-in and boarding systems, is causing significant disruption across multiple major European airports, most notably Heathrow, Brussels, and Berlin. The attack, occurring on Friday night, has rendered automated systems inoperable, forcing airlines to revert to manual check-in and boarding procedures. Collins Aerospace, the service provider, confirmed the technical issue affecting select airports globally. Heathrow Airport reported delays and cancellations due to the technical issue at a third-party supplier. Passengers experienced lengthy queues and extended wait times at check-in, with some facing 2-hour delays. The situation has impacted hundreds of flights, leading to a large impact on flight schedules and numerous cancellations. Brussels Airport reported 10 cancellations so far, with an average delay of 1 hour for departing flights. RTX Collins Aerospace's parent company is actively working to resolve the problem. Airlines, including EasyJet and Ryanair, though unaffected by the immediate disruption, are implementing workarounds to minimize the impact on their passengers. Delta Airlines anticipates minimal disruption to flights departing from the affected airports. Berlin Airport reported longer waiting times, while Frankfurt Airport and Zurich Airport were not impacted. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander is receiving regular updates and monitoring the situation closely. Authorities are urging passengers to confirm their travel arrangements with airlines before heading to the airports and to arrive with sufficient time, particularly 3 hours for long-haul flights and 2 hours for domestic flights. The incident highlights the vulnerability of the aviation industry to digital system disruptions. The European Union's Eurocontrol has requested airlines to cancel half their flight schedules to and from affected airports between 00:400 GMT on Saturday and 00:200 on Monday. The disruption underscores the interconnectedness of global travel and the potential consequences of cybersecurity incidents. The situation is being closely monitored as efforts continue to restore normal operations. British couple freed by Taliban return home after 8-month detention. After nearly 8 months of detention in Afghanistan, British couple Peter Reynolds, 80, and his wife Barbie, 76, have been released by the Taliban and returned to the United Kingdom. The couple, who resided in Afghanistan for nearly 2 decades and ran a charitable training program approved by local Taliban officials since 2021, were finally released through Qatari mediation on Friday, following legal proceedings. Their return marks a significant event, highlighting the ongoing challenges and complexities of Western presence in Afghanistan. The couple's detention began on February 1st, when they were stopped while returning home. Throughout their imprisonment, conditions were reportedly dire, with concerns raised about their deteriorating health, including convulsions suffered by Mr. Reynolds and Mrs. Reynolds, anemia and malnutrition. The family's persistent lobbying, coupled with diplomatic efforts from the UK government, the Qatari mediators, the US and the UN, proved crucial in securing their release. Upon arrival in Doha, Qatar, the couple underwent medical checks before traveling to the UK. The reunion with their daughter, Sarah Entwistle, was emotional, filled with hugs and expressions of relief. The family expressed profound gratitude to all involved in their release, emphasizing the importance of their continued work in Afghanistan. During their detention, an American woman, Faye Hall, shared harrowing accounts of their conditions, stating they were literally dying in prison, underscoring the urgency of their situation. The couple's health rapidly declined, with serious concerns raised about their well-being. The Qatari government facilitated a move to a larger facility with improved conditions during the final negotiations. The couple's long-standing love for Afghanistan, demonstrated by their decision to remain after the Taliban takeover in 2021, is a central element of their story. Their release represents a moment of immense joy for the family and highlights the complex humanitarian situation in the country. The family's unwavering support and the combined diplomatic efforts ultimately led to a successful outcome, bringing an end to an agonizing ordeal. Palestinian students' dreams shattered by U.S. visa restrictions. A 22-year-old Palestinian student's plans to begin her studies at an American university in the fall of 2024 have been derailed due to a new Trump administration policy rejecting non-immigrant visas for Palestinian Authority passport holders. This policy has severely impacted numerous other Palestinian students seeking to continue their education in the United States. The student, whose identity remains undisclosed, was admitted to study computer science and found herself in a desperate situation amidst the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The policy, communicated through a cable from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, has resulted in a significant setback for dozens of Palestinian students vying for places at American universities. These students have faced immense challenges, including navigating bombardment, displacement, and communication difficulties, all while attempting to complete their applications. One student described the process as harsh and unimaginable, highlighting the immense stress and danger involved. Several students shared harrowing experiences, including one who risked his life walking for an hour to secure a weak internet signal to submit his application while bombs fell around him. Another student, a 40-year-old pharmacist, faced difficulties finding transcripts and recommendations amidst the chaos, struggling to connect with colleagues in Gaza due to communication limitations. The blanket refusal policy has effectively delayed their education by 3 years, forcing them to restart their application processes. Student Justice Network, SJN, a pro-Palestinian student group, has been assisting these students with the complex logistics of applying to and pursuing American education. SJN founder Juliet Majid expressed disappointment with the administration's decision, describing it as cowardly. The State Department maintains that every visa decision is a national security consideration, offering no specific rationale for the policy. The impact is substantial, with dozens of students facing the prospect of losing years of academic progress. The situation underscores the profound disruption to educational opportunities for Palestinian students amid the ongoing conflict and the administration's restrictive visa policies.